Hello, my name is Manisha Jones. Here is my card and my name. So this is the video presentation. So these are for the two case studies. So I chose case number 2 and case number 4. So, case number 2 basically talked about a 16-year-old girl who had a muscle deficiency, glycogen deficiency, and she was wanting to know basically the symptoms, how she was going to exercise in her day, how she was going to live the rest of her life. So, her first question was with the deficiency, what it was, and if she could get a better understanding. So, muscle glycogen is an important fuel source during exercise. As an individual is engaging in intense physical activity, muscle glycogen particles are broken down, freeing the glucose molecules that the muscle cells oxidize through anaerobic and aerobic processes to produce ATP that is required for muscle contraction. As a person is exercising vigorously, the muscle glycogen is degrading at a faster rate. An example of that would necessarily be like an individual doing back to back sprinting, repeat sprints. So her next question is she enjoys going on long walks with her friends, so she was seeing if that was even possible for her. Long walks may not be an option because there is a myocardial disease, a genetic disorder that affects the skeletal muscles that may be a result of the deficiency of muscle glycogen phosphorylase. And with this disease, the main symptoms is physical activity intolerance. So long walks require a lot of energy, which in turn will cause muscle cramps, weakness, fatigue, respectively, due to the deficiency of the myophosphorylase, which is the muscle phosphorylase. And then from there, she was basically saying, does she need to stay up at night in regards to eat small meals? And muscle glycogen deficiency entails the body not being able to store or break down glucose properly. With studies, it has been shown that taking regular doses of uncut cornstarch can maintain those normal blood sugar levels longer than most carbohydrates found in food, which could cut down on having to wake up in the middle of the night to maintain those normal blood glucose levels while she's sleeping. Her last question was, does she need to worry about excessive lactase? Studies have been shown that even with intense exercise, the buildup of lactate in the muscle is not much of a difference than a healthy individual engaging in intense physical activity. So, the next case was case 4, and it regarded a healthy 2-month-old female that presented with jittery spells several hours after breastfeeding. And the mom was concerned because she hadn't given the baby anything other than breast milk after birth. And with that, the child was having certain symptoms, such as sleeping for more than 2 hours after feedings. And then they took blood work, and the baby showed hypoglycemia, which is low blood glucose. But they did administer epinephrine, and there was no increase, but there was an increase in the blood lactate. So they were trying to figure out what exactly was going on with the baby. So there were 4 options. The 4 options were hereditary fructose intolerance, galactosemia, glycogen storage disease, and glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. So, with hereditary fructose intolerance, the symptoms included hypoglycemia, which the baby did present with, but there was also nausea, vomiting, and jaundice, which is yellowing of the skin, the whites of the eyes, and the mucous membranes, which were not observed. So that was highly an unlikely solution. The next one was galactosemia, which the symptoms include an enlarged liver, which is hepatomegaly, which the baby presented with, but they also include jaundice, fluid in the abdomen, abdominal swelling, diarrhea, and lethargy, which weren't observed by the infant. And then the next one, the wrong answer is glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, where the symptoms did include hepatomegaly, which is enlarged liver, which the baby did present with. But there's also jaundice, fever, weakness, increased heart rate, and a heart murmur, which were not presented with the baby. So, in regards to that, that leaves the glycogen storage disease, which is the inability to store glycogen. The baby presented with the symptoms of hemoptymalgia, which is the enlarged liver, hypoglycemia, which is low blood glucose, the tremors, and drowsiness, which the baby did present after feeding. Babies are supposed to eat every 2 hours, and the baby was still sleeping after 2 hours, so elongated time. And these are all the symptoms that the child presented with, that the mom told the doctors. So, out of all of them, the glycogen storage disease, where the baby has an inability to use the glycogen, would be the best route of why the baby was having these certain symptoms.